Hakadosh Boker or Masechet Nedarim Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. So we're on 17a1. We're on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Yesh Neder Betoch Neder. What does that mean? There's a Neder Betoch Neder. Sometimes a Neder will be Chal on another Neder, which means if a person made a Neder twice or three times, it's all going to be Chal. So that's the concept of Neder Chal al Neder. One neder will be chal on another neder. Ve'en shivua betoch shivua. However, the one shivua cannot be chal on another shivua. So you come and you swear, which is a shivua, right? And then you're going to swear on the same thing. You're not going to be chayav on the shivua only once. So a neder can be chal on a neder, but a shivua cannot be chal on a shivua. Ketzad. Yeah, what is the case exactly? Amar hareni nazir imochal. Imagine a person comes and he makes a neder of nazirut. Okay, and what happened is that he comes and he says, but he made a condition that it shouldn't be chal nazirut unless he's going to eat this bread. So he comes and he says hareni nazir imochal. So he said it twice. Okay, one more time. Hareni nazir imochal, hareni nazir imochal ve'achal. And then he ate the bread. So chayav al kol achad ve'achat. He's obligated on both of the nizirut, and therefore he has to do right nizirut of the shloshim yom. Okay, and he's going to bring the korbanot, right, that he's obligated to bring of the nazir when he finishes, and then again he does another 30 days, and then again he brings the korbanot. Okay, so that is to do with a neder, another neder. Remember, the nizirut is a neder of nizirut. It's not a shivua. It's a neder of nizirut. Okay, next. Shavua shelo chal, shavua shelo chal. So one more time, the neder of Nazirut, it's a neder. And therefore a neder of Nazirut is chal, one on each other. So therefore if a person comes and he says, hareni nazirim imochal, hareni nazirim imochal, and then he ate, he's going to be chayav al kol achad ve'achat, on each one. Shavua shelo chal, aval shavua shelo achal ve'achal. Let's say he makes a shavua, he's not going to drink this tea. Right? He's not going, and he said it twice. And then he eats it. He's only going to be chayav on one. Okay. Here he says here it's even better than the concept of en shvua chal shvua is even better than the concept of any isur chal isur, because even according to the mandamar of any isur chal isur, it's only to do with onshim, to do with punishments, right? Which means that we're not going to punish right on the same avera for two different things. But the etzim of the isur sheni is chal. So he says, so the person did do two of it all, but you just can't punish twice. That's a pshat, any isur chal isur. But to do with en shivua chal shivua, al ikar shivua, it's only one. So that's even much better. Okay, you understood the difference? Meaning, for the same avera, you cannot be obligated two different counts. However, though, right? But it's still two averot. It's still two averot. But one punishment. There's a Gemara. Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the Gemara. Amar Ravuna, says Ravuna, Lo Shanu, what are we dealing with? Ela de Amar, if he says, Hareni Nazir Ayom, Hareni Nazir Lemachar, which means only if he's adding to the Neder. And he's saying, I'm a Nazir today, I'm a Nazir tomorrow. Right? The Migu de Kamitosaf Yoma Yetera. There's Migu that he's adding an extra day. Chayla nezirut al nezirut. So it's going to be chal, the nezirut on another nezirut. You understand? That means it's going to be chal one on another. Okay? Why? Because again, we're talking about, right, that what? That it's going to be that you're adding on an extra concept. Okay? Aval, however, though, amar hareni nazir hayom, hareni nazir hayom. If a person comes and he says that he's going to be a nazir today, he's going to be a nazir today, and Chala nezirut al nezirut. It's not going to be chal nezirut al nezirut, which means like this. According to the shita of Ravuna, in order for you to add an extra nezirut, it has to be that you added something to it. It cannot just be the exact copy and paste. Because if it's copy and paste, the exact same thing, no. It has to be an adding. So therefore, you're saying today and tomorrow. Now, obviously, today and tomorrow is going to be the same thing, because remember, it's 30 days. So it's within, but you added on something. And the fact that you added on something, that's why it's going to be nezirut chal nezirut. But if you just said the same day, it's not going to be chal nezirut al nezirut. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel comes and he says, Afilu Amar ani Nazira Yom ani Nazira Yom. Even a person comes and he says, I am a Nazir today, I'm a Nazir today. Chala Nazirut alei. So there is going to be the Nazirut Chal on him. Okay? Which means that according to Shtat Shmuel, it is going to be a good Nazirut, even though you said the exact same words. And now you're going to have to do 60 days of Nazirut. First 30, Korbanot. Second 30, Korbanot. Yeah? So why? Because one more time. Because the Nazirut is Chal on Nazirut. Even if you're saying the exact same thing. That is the Shita of Shmuel. Not like Ravuna. Not like Ravuna. The Ravuna says no. Okay? Let's continue a little bit. And then let's see. Well, Ul Ravuna, and according to Ravuna, Adetana and Shavua betok Shavua, the fact that we just said that Shavua is not going to be Chal on Shavua, Velitne yesh neder betok neder, ve'en neder betok neder. According to Ravuna, why don't we split up the Mishnah in itself? We said a general rule in the Mishnah. There is a neder on a neder. And then we said another general rule in the Mishnah. There's no Shavua on Shavua. According to Ravuna, the first statement that there is a neder on a neder, it's not a blanket statement. It's not a carte blanche, right? It actually depends. Depends how you said it. If you said the exact same thing twice, according to Ravuna, it's not good, right? What does that mean? There's only one neder. It's only if you add it on. Because it was like amigu, so it was adding on. Then it's considered that. So in the Mishnah, why don't we learn in the Mishnah that sometimes there is a neder betok neder, and sometimes there's a neder, not a neder betok neder. And how? Hareni nazira yom nizir melachar. There's a neder betok neder. Hareni nazira yom nazira yom. Right? So then what? Yudzayin mubet 17b and neder betok neder. So therefore, according to Shtat Ravuna, the Mishnah itself should have come and differentiated between whether it's going to be chal one or the other or not. So says the Gemara, Kashya, you're right. It's a beautiful question. It's a bomb question. You're right. According to that, Be'emet, right, it was actually a very, very good question. You understand? Why? Because at the end of the day, right, at the end of the day, it's not going to be, you should have actually had that in Mishnah. So the Gemara answered Kasha. You're right. It's a good question. We don't have an answer on Ravuna. Next, Yudzayin Mubet. Tanan we learned in our Mishnah 17b. Yesh neder betoch neder and shavua betoch. We learned in our Mishnah. There's a neder betoch neder, but there's no shavua betoch shavua. Hechal. I mean, what's the case? Ilay madaman. If you're going to tell me that he said that he said that he's going to be a nazir today, he's going to be a nazir tomorrow. So by shavua, you would have said the exact same thing. Shelo chal tenenim v'shavua. Shelo chal anavim. That you said that you're not going to eat tenim, which are figs. You made a shavua, you're not going to eat figs. Then you made a shavua, you're not going to eat grapes.
He doesn't.
Why are you not going to eat shavua? For sure, right? For sure. Why wouldn't it be chala shavua? A person came and he said that he's making a shavua not to eat grapes. Then he comes and makes a shavua not to eat figs, or vice versa. It doesn't matter which one. For sure, it's going to be chala shavua. So therefore, why wouldn't it be chal? If it would be chal shavua, so therefore, why wouldn't it be chal the neder betok neder in such a case where he says Ella hechidami. What is the case, right? Telo chal shavua that it's not going to be chal shavua. Kegon de'amar, for example, he said shavua shelo chal tanim v'chaz shavua shelo chal tanim. He said it twice. Shavua that he's not going to eat tanim. So the fact that he said twice that the shavua is not going to eat tanim, so therefore he said the same thing. So for en shavua chal shavua. So therefore the kavatei gam nezirut echidami. So what is the same thing by nezirut that he said? Hadeni nazir yom, hadeni nazir yom. V'ktani, and we still learned yesh neder b'toch neder. So kasha leRavuna. It's a question on Ravuna. So now we're asking another question on Ravuna, another bomba. But listen carefully one more time. The first question against Ravuna was, we had a machloket Ravuna and Shmuel. According to Ravuna, we don't always say yesh neder b'toch neder. Depends what you said. Did you add imosifim or not? Did you add or not? According to Shmuel, tamid yesh neder b'toch neder. Chazak u'baruch. First question against the Ravuna was from the Mishnah in itself. Why did you tell me in the Mishnah, right, that there's neder b'toch neder and it's mashma tamid? It's like always, blanket statement. And then you tell me and shavua b'toch shavua. Even in the neder b'toch neder, divide it. Tell me in the Mishnah. Sometimes there is a neder b'toch neder, sometimes there's not. Depends what you said. Tell me that. Kashya, bomba. We don't have an answer. Second question, we come and we say, even forget that about, even in the Mishnah in itself, you could deduce it. Why? If I tell you en yesh neder betoch neder, ve'en shivua betoch shivua, what does that mean? We're talking about the same case. Because we're not talking about A to B, because if not, you're talking about apples, I'm talking about oranges. So if it says the Gemara, 1 second, if you're telling me that it's Hareni Nazir Ayom, Hareni Nazir Machar, which that was the case of Rav Huna, I'm a Nazir today and I'm a Nazir tomorrow, so that means the same case is by Shavua. Well, that I said, I'm not Shavua, he's not going to eat Te'anim, and he's not going to eat Anavim. There is the Shavua, Chalal Shavua? For sure, yes. Because you added. So therefore, for sure, by the Neder, if by the Shavua it is good, Kal V'chomer by the Neder it's going to be good. So for what do you have to say? The Shavua is talking about, in Shavua, Toch Shavua, what are we talking about? That I'm not going to eat Anavim, I'm not going to eat Anavim. Or I'm not going to eat Te'anim, I'm not going to eat Te'anim. The same thing. So now go back to the Nazir. So as I said, Hareni Nazir Yom, Hareni Nazir Yom. I said the same thing. Yeah, so therefore, and what? And we said by Shavua, it's not Chal Shavua betoch Shavua, and by Neder, it is Chal Neder betoch Neder. So this is a proof that Neder betoch Neder is Chal, even if you said Hareni Nazir Yom, Hareni Nazir Yom. Because if we're comparing it to the Shavuot, right? Because that's it's the same Mishnah. We're comparing it to the Shavuot, so therefore, so this is a proof against Rav Huna. Meaning the first question was, why in the Mishnah itself didn't you differentiate it? That was the first question. We answered Kasha. It's a good question. We don't have an answer. But the second question is, forget about differentiating it in the Mishnah. I'm comparing the same thing. Because if I'm going to tell you, there's a Neder betoch Neder, and I'm talking about A, and then you tell me, En Shavua betoch Shavua, and we're talking about completely something different, what am I comparing? Two different things. When I say there is a Neder betoch Neder, and there's no Shavua betoch Shavua, I have to be speaking about the same language. I have to be speaking about the same case.
But the principle
okay? Says the Gemara, Amar lecha Rav Huna is going to tell you, Matznit in our Mishnahs, Damar, Hareni Nazir Ayom, Hareni Nazir Lemachar. I am a Nazir today, and I'm a Nazir tomorrow. So it means, again, one more time, we are talking about two different, you're adding, in the beginning of the Mishnah, Tikavateka be'Shavua, just like by Shavua, Damar shelo ochal te'anim, v'chazar b'ma Shavua shelo ochal te'anim v'anavim. We're not about two different things. You're just adding. Because beforehand, I thought that you guys were actually going to ask this question. Beforehand, it was te'enim v'anavim. זה שתי עולמות שונות. זה אנחנו לא אומרים שאנחנו מוסיפים על זה. זאת אומרת, we're not saying that you're adding on here, you're adding שבוע שלא אכל תאנים, and then שבוע שלא אכל תאנים, פלוס ענבים. So that should be the same. זה לא חיילה. There, the שבוע השנייה, is not tofes, because since the isur on te'enim was because of the first one, so en chal shavua al shavua to prohibit the anavim. You understand? He's one more time. A person comes and he says shavua, then I'm not going to drink tea. Then he says shavua, I'm not going to drink tea and I'm not going to eat crackers. It's not chal. Why? Because since the second shavua, the tea was already prohibited to me. So therefore, en shavua, chal shavua, even though I added the crackers.
So we eliminate the adding.
Right? Exactly. Why? Because at the end of the day, it has to be a new entity. It cannot be the same thing. So therefore, shavua, en chal shavua shavua, says Rav Huna. So therefore, if I put that back to the beginning of the Mishnah, there is a neder betoch neder. Why? When I said hareni nazir yom vareni nazir machar, I added on to the nazirit. So therefore, there by Nazir, I could add on. By Neder, I could add on. And it's Chal. But the Shavua, the exact same way, it's not Chal. That's how Rav Huna is going to answer our Mishnah, that I could still go like him. So says the Gemara, Rabbi says, Shavua shelo chal tenim, v'chazar Shavua shelo chal tenim v'anavim. V'achal tenim. Imagine a person did the exact same thing we just said it now. He comes and he says, Shavua shelo chal tenim. Then he says, Shavua shelo chal te'anim va'anavim. The second time around, he added anavim. V'achal te'anim. He did eat te'anim. Ve'flish korban. He separated the korban, because obviously he went against his neder, his shavua. Okay? Ve'chazar v'achal anavim. And then he ate anavim. Right? V'avyulu anavim chetzi shiur. The anavim is only a half of a shiur. Ve'en mevim korban a chetzi shiur. You don't bring a korban on chetzi shiur. Remember, you bring a korban only if you eat a full shiur. If you only eat half of a shiur, for example, a person ate chelev, chas shalom. Only if he eats a kazait, does he bring a korban, right? Only if a dam, so only if he drinks a revit, there has to be a shiur. On a chetzi shiur, you do not bring a korban. Ve'emivim korban a chetzi shiur. Alma, right? So you see from here, Hechal de'amar shavua lo shelo achal te'anim v'chazar v'amar shavua shelo achal te'anim. Migu dechal shavua lanavim chayil nami al te'anim. It does, because you're adding on. So for the Gemara, which is basically your Rabba, is asking against Rav Huna, what are you telling me that when you made a shavua, you're not going to eat te'anim? And then you made again another shavua that you're not going to eat te'anim plus anavim, that it's not chal. That's incorrect. Because look in this Gemara. This Gemara in Fudeshet, it says, if you made a vow, you're not going to eat te'anim. Then you made a second vow, not going to eat te'anim va'anavim. You ate te'anim. You brought a korban. Then you ate anavim. That's a shiur. But chetzi shiur. So you don't bring a korban. So says the Gemara, so therefore that's why you don't bring another korban. But 1 second. Mashma, that if you did eat a shiur shalem, you would bring a korban. So 1 second. That means you see from here that migu, that it's chal on the anavim, because the anavim was new. So therefore it's going to be chal again on the te'anim. So therefore that's a proof against Rav Huna. Answers the Gemara, Rav Huna lo sile kerabba. Rav Huna argues on Rabba. He argues on Rabba and he says that even in that case, it's not chal on the anavim at all. So therefore, no, so for sure he's not going to bring the korban because it was never netted on anavim. According to Rabba, you're not bringing the korban because it was chetzi shiur.
No,
no, because there's the chetzi shiur. That's why you're not bringing a korban. But if you did eat shiur shalem, you would bring a korban. That's according to Rabba. Rav Huna argues on Rabba and he says, no, even if you would eat the shiur shalem, I don't care because it's not chal at all the second shavua. Okay, so that's the answer of Rav Huna. So another question, Rav Huna. Meitve, we're going to ask the following question. Imagine right now a person comes and he says in the same time he's going to do 2 nezirut. So remember, we already explained the second you have to do 2 nezirut at 60 days. First 30, then you have to break it up, and then you do another 30, okay? So now what happens is that manat rishona, you come and you started the first one, right, the nezirut, v'ifrish korban, and then you separated the korban. And then you wanted to do a tarat nedarim, like a tarat of the neder of the nezirut on the first one. So therefore you're going to be the second nezirut in the fact that you did the first one. Because once I canceled out the first one to a tarat nedarim, so that means, but I did do a nezirut. So for that nezirut, now counted like the second one. It's an incredible concept. It means basically a person had to do 2, and now he did 2 for 1. But once he did a tarat nedarim in the first one, the first one that he just did right now, that he was just finishing, now counts as the second one. So says the Gemara, what's the case exactly? If you're going to tell me now, that I am a nazir today and I'm a nazir for tomorrow, yeah? So why is it going to be right? One for the other. There's a minimum of an extra day. Because since he started the today, so therefore you would have to start from tomorrow, not from today. He said, he said, so it started on the same day. Okay, he said it on the same day. It's Yufta de Rav Huna, and this is a refutation against Rav Huna. Again, we're going back attacking Rav Huna. Remember, one more time. Rav Huna comes and he says that if a person says the same thing, it's not chal the neder and neder. You always have to be mosif. Says the Gemara is going to ask against Rav Huna, right, that there's a braita. Now, beforehand, it was only Rabba. So you can just say he doesn't hold the Rabba. Now it's a braita. So now he has to answer up the braita. The braita says mefurash. If a person comes and he accepts upon himself 2 neziruts, and then after finishing the first one, he already separates the korban, he's all ready to finish the first one, he comes and he does hatarat nedarim in the first one. So now this one that he just did counts as the second one. So ask the Gemara, why would it count as the second one? It doesn't make sense. If he said, hareni nazira yom, hareni nazira machar, just like Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says that that's the only way to be chal neder b'toch neder, that you're adding on. So why is it going to be chal? Why is it going to count as the second one like the first one? He has to add an extra day. So why does it count the second one like the first one? He did a tarat nedarim in the first one, but he still needs he needs an extra day to fulfill the second one, because he only said hareni nazira machar. So for what are we talking about? He said hareni nazira yom, hareni nazira yom, and it's still chal neder b'toch neder, and therefore, right, when he does the tarat nedarim on the first one, the second one counts as the first one. But this is a proof against Rav Huna. But this is a proof from the Braita that if you said hareni nazira yom, hareni nazira yom, right, it's chal neder b'toch neder, not like Rav Huna. So this is a tiyuf on Rav Huna. So the Gemara is going to answer on Yud Chet Amud Aleph. No, leolam, really be'emet hareni nazira yom mechar. Really, he said that I'm a nazir today, I'm a nazir tomorrow. So what does it mean that it counted for the first? Like that means the second one counted for the first one. In like the first 30 days counted like the second ones, except for that extra day. Meaning in a Hanami, he has to do one extra day. But at the end of the day, it still counts. So therefore, okay, so he does an extra day, because he says, so if don't bring me a proof from the Braita against me, I can answer up that this is a pshat in the Braita. That's the first answer. Inami, your second answer, he accepted it twice in one shot, because he said, if you say Hareni Nazir Shte Pe'amim, that's 2 for 1. That's not 2 separate repeats. That's not copy and paste. It's 2 for 1. If a person comes and he says, I'm a Nazir twice, according to everybody, he's a Nazir twice. The machloka between Rav Huna and Shmuel is, if he says, Hareni Nazir Yom, and then later on he comes and he says, Hareni Nazir Yom. Because there, you basically would copy and paste. That's the question. But if you just said it normally, maybe not. So those are the two different answers that Rav Huna can answer you, right? And there's no problem whatsoever. Wonderful day.